Good morning. I'm back, and I want to talk today about a piece of our spirituality that we might want to look at, be with, check out. And this goes counter to the idea that it's all about, or someone like me is all about being positive. Because for a while now, I haven't liked that description of positive thinking or being a positive person, because part of what positive brings in is this idea of the opposite that would be negative. And part of the connected approach that I've gotten to get into with my spirituality, really, which is what my yoga is about, my union, my connection, my joining with my sense of spirituality, right? Whatever I call that. But one of the big pieces is judgment, looking at things with more non judgment, and even what we might see the opposite, which is more like unconditional love. So if I'm judging something as positive or negative, I'm bringing in that judgment, right? So it's not about thinking positively now. This is what I see in my experience and my understanding of how we can be in life, right? Which we always have choices. But if we are choosing and feeling like we want to be in a spiritual orientation, right? If we want to feel like we're connected to something, whether it's something within us, something around us, whether we call it God, whether we call it spirit, whether we call it the universe, whether we just call it life, right? Whatever we call it, if we want to be in that paradigm, if we want to be in that lifestyle, that focus, that approach, then it's about making our mentality, right? Helping that go with that spiritual perspective, that spiritual embodiment. So it's not about thinking positively, but it's about, yes, thinking more spiritually and getting ourselves in the spiritual perspective, which could include things like faith, right? Which could include a more loving perspective, right? Which can include the non judgment, right? And just the awareness that we're all connected, it's all connected, and that we're playing a role within it, right? And that maybe even that we are that piece of the universe, we are that piece of God, and that we have that power, right? So if you're deciding to embrace these things, if you're deciding to have a life that feels more spiritual and you're moving more and more into your spiritual orientation, then I would say the question isn't, are we thinking positively? Are we focused positively? Are we speaking positively, right? It's, are we being spiritual about it? Are we remembering our spirituality? Are we in that paradigm of spirituality that we really want to be in, right? And if we do want to feel like we have a connection to the universe, if we do want to feel like the universe has our back, right? If we do want to be in a place of faith, and allowing and trust and surrender and all these words we might hear in the spiritual communities, right? The new age teachers, then it comes down to choosing to be in that and full on, right? Because if we're only sort of believing that, sort of embracing that, maybe just intellectualizing about it, it's not quite working for us, is it, right? So that's where I love to share that these practices of yoga and meditation, really that's what they're built to be about, is reconnecting with our sense, if we want to, especially with our sense of spirituality, with our feelings of spirit, God, the universe, whatever you call it, but doing more and more to get ourselves in that awareness, in that focus, in that feeling, in that presence, in that practice, in that lifestyle, right? And how much different are we going to think, speak, operate, and create from that place, from owning our spirituality, deciding that we're spiritual beings, really stepping into our beliefs if we're starting to feel like that's what we believe and that's what we want to embrace. But yeah, doing that full on, not making it about thinking positively, but thinking spiritually, focusing spiritually, remembering the spiritual aspects, the spiritual elements that you're wanting to embrace and starting to live like that more, right? Full on, 100%, letting it be a spiritual thing. So if you're interested in being spiritual, if you're wanting to, and you're finding yourself doing that, I would encourage us all to step into it even more, right? And to realize how much everything we're doing, everything we're focusing on, everything we're experiencing is playing into that. And how much our practices, our rituals, our habits can help us just reconnect with that sense, with that knowing, with that faith, with that love, right? And actually being able to bring that to the planet at this time is pretty awesome too. So embracing your spirituality, seeing that's what you're doing with your practices, and that the more that you can connect with that, the more that you can live in that, think like that, speak like that, be in that paradigm, right? More spiritual awareness, not just positive, but just more spiritual. So, and you get to define what that means, right? Only you know what your sense of spirituality is. So that's my piece today. May we embrace our sense of spirit, God, the universe, our soul, our heart, our truth. Live from that more, right? Speak from that more, think from that more, vision from that more, be in the world in that place, bring that to the world. And that's what things like yoga can really be about at its deepest levels. So hope you can enjoy that, work with that, and saying thank you so much for your time and attention. It's such a big deal. So appreciate it. All right. Have a good time out there. Namaste.